the parking spaces are. So anyway, just gonna give you this angle. I'm not gonna stay on here long. Carlee Russell, 25, Alabama, African American female, went missing Thursday evening off an interstate. She was able to speak to, I believe, two people, family members, about a child being on the interstate alone. The mother has given information pertaining to this very strange story, that they could hear something in the background, rustling, noise, interstate traffic, purse, wig found near the car left running. That's new information. Where I think many people are going to be puzzled with this story is how was she found? Was she held captive for 2 days and let go and made her way to the house some type of way by phone or cab or Uber or Lyft, or I don't know? Because if you don't have your purse, you can't navigate with funds. Number two, you don't have a phone, you can't use an app or direct line or messenger. So how was she discovered? She went to the hospital, evaluated, obviously. What were her injuries? Was she harmed physically, sexually? What happened? She has now been released from the hospital. And the boyfriend has made a post on Facebook that she fought for her life. So please be respectful of her situation. And when she's ready to speak on what happened, she will. That is this information. She walked home. Well, I can't say she walked home. I'm not clarifying anything because nothing's been revealed. Now, there are many platforms such as articles where people are giving their opinions below the articles and videos, news videos. And there are a few people who are praying, hopeful, and then you have those who were skeptical, that the story sounds fishy to them. And it isn't good to be negative, but some of us don't think like others, and that's where the skepticism may come in. When you hear of a person returning home, the first thing you're going to think of is the obvious. How did they get there? And two, would I want the killer or kidnapper or whatever the person is, whoever, if indeed she was kidnapped, would I want this person to know where I live? Then the flip side of that would be, well, you're trying to get home. You don't care if they know where you live. If the person said, okay, hey, I'll take you home. But if they don't know you, they never looked in your car to see the registration on your, registration papers, which all sounds like Lifetime when you start getting technical. But you have to ask all those questions because that's the only way you're going to get to the gist of the story. And we don't know everything. So we're going to ask all these questions where there are probably already answers to the questions, but we don't know. So we're just outsiders looking in. Did the person look in her car to see where she lived, to know where she lived? The car was left running. Was it left running the entire time when the police got there? This is what they're saying it was. So I had to jog my memory back when I thought about the story, and I said, oh, that's right, she went missing Thursday. So to just be returned home, yeah, she was gone 2 days. This is very interesting. So where was she? What happened? Where was she? Was this a ruse to put a child on the interstate so someone, female preferably, would get out of the car, look, and then they abduct the female? The part of that story that's strange is the fact that law enforcement and also whoever she called told her not to get out of the car, because everybody knows it's dangerous to exit a car on an interstate. So it doesn't matter what your reasoning is for getting out of your car. It is not recommended to get out of your car unless you're having car trouble. But they still tell you to be aware of oncoming cars, because for some crazy reason, people tend to hit people off the interstate, which makes no sense, because if you know how to drive, you know not to hit a pedestrian and or a car on the side of the highway. Hello, everybody in the chat. Thank you for joining me. What happened? I don't want to say anything negative as of yet. I want to keep my skepticism to myself I'm trying to be objective just in case it was something harrowing. She made her way home. This is a very strange story. I think back to the story of the Caucasian lady in California who orchestrated a ruse and was found with a guy that she had dated. And I'm not saying in no way is this situation the same. I'm just saying that you don't know people. You don't know the mindset of people. And people go through a lot in life, and they could have a mental break, and or they could just be facetious in nature, and you think you know them and you don't. I'm not saying she's either of those things. She has any of those qualities. I don't know her. I'm just saying it's a very strange story because you have to ask yourself the obvious. Was there a child on the highway? Was there also somebody else there? An eyewitness has reported seeing a man there near her car. So I don't know if that is true. I don't know if she was followed. If she pulled over telling somebody she was on there and just made it up about the kid. I don't know. I just think it's interesting that, as some people are speculating, nobody else called to say that a child was wandering on the interstate. And naturally, you would pull over if you care, if you're that type of human, number one. Number two, how are you going to help a child by sitting in the car? Because the police have told her to stay in the car, okay? So you have the police saying stay in the car. Then you have relatives saying stay in the car. Well, how was she supposed to help the child stay out of the roadway? That makes no sense to even say, don't get out of the car. Well, then that defeats the purpose of me stopping. Why am I going to stop and look at the child? If that's the case, I can just drive by and call 911 and say, hey, you need to get over here at such and such highway, mile marker, blah, blah, blah. I saw a toddler on the side of the road. I don't know. I just don't know. Thank you all so much for joining me. I had other updates that I wanted to bring that are late because I've been working a new schedule and new position, so I don't have the time to do the live streams and the updates. But as most of you know, the house in Idaho will remain. A serial killer has been apprehended as a suspect, arrested on Long Island. I will talk about that at a later time. I was wanting to do all that today, but today was just a really bad day for me. And I had some things I had to take care of this evening before going into work tomorrow. So my time is not allotted properly as I have been wanting it to be. So I had a quick second to jump on here before going to bed to bring you this sad information. I don't know what to say. I'm going to say this. For her sake, I pray that whatever version she has given is the truth, the whole truth, that there is no nefarious motive to make up a story, because that would be devastating to her family and the community, and also, law enforcement, because we need them around for stories such as this. Because we have people who go missing every day, kidnapped, murdered every day, and it would be a shame to have called in these people, resources, canine, drones, helicopters, said agencies on a lie. But as I said, I'm not making any claims that what happened to this young lady is a lie or a ruse. I do not know. But as I said, in certain articles and videos in the comment sections, there are people who are skeptical of this story. So that is the situation. Well, I don't need any instructions on what to say. I think most people know who I am and what I'm about. I don't wish anybody any harm. All I'm saying is there are people who are skeptical of the story. And that's why I'm not saying anything negative, only because I don't know her and I don't know what went on down there in Alabama. I just know the story is strange. Because you have to ask yourself what actually happened How was she able to get away? If there were abductors, where did they take her? How far would it have been from where her house is? So you have to ask all those questions. Because if you're talking about 10, 20 miles, you're talking about a long walk. And then you have to ask yourself what's around for a person to use a phone. Would you be too afraid to go to someone else's house? Naturally, you would be. I would be afraid to go to someone else's house to ask for help if I've been kidnapped. I possibly would be afraid to even jump in someone's car, get in someone's car if I was abducted from the highway or any location. So you have to ask all those questions. The mindset of the person, this young lady, Miss Carlee, what she was going through at the time, and you have this boyfriend stating that she fought for her life. So possibly, obviously, if we're to believe whatever he said on Facebook, she gave him a version of what happened to her. And yes, it's a wonderful thing that she is alive. Just strange nonetheless. Very strange. I have not checked every article pertaining to this because I don't have that kind of time to watch every news clipping about a story. That's the whole point of a news story. There will always be a different version by different networks. Every story that you hear is not going to be the same version over here. It depends on who they talk to, who the news gets their information from, because every news does not have the opportunity to get a one-on-one with the person and their family. So I've not heard any other versions pertaining to how she got home, that she walked in the door. I haven't heard any of that today. And I'm not here to argue anything about how she got home. That's my point, is that if you don't know all the details, you can't really say what's the truth or not. Because we don't even know if indeed it's true where she was taken. If they took her somewhere in the city, or they took her to a small town, somewhere rural. I mean, Alabama is a southern, it's a southern state. It's a lot of rural places in Alabama. So I don't know where they could have taken her, how she would have gotten out. Was she near a place to where she could use a phone? But that's what people need to understand. If you're on the interstate, common sense would tell you it would be rural. Hoover, Alabama, I don't know that it's a major city. Birmingham comes to mind as a major city. Huntsville comes to mind. Montgomery. But those places in between are not major cities. So you're talking about stretches of land and highway to navigate. That's my set commentary. Prayers to she and the family. Prayers that the truth will be revealed. If indeed there are abductors, 1, 2, however many, that they are located, apprehended. Prayers that no other young people, female or male, are abducted, hurt, harmed. And I look forward to bringing you commentary pertaining to this Long Island issue of this male who has been apprehended and charged in the murders of 3 women. I'd like to bring you that information. I was wanting to do a live with all of these stories together because it makes it easier to put a lot of stories in one live instead of just doing one topic. But I will get back with you on that story. I might just do an upload before I go to bed and just put it in the queue. And it won't be a live stream. Trisha says she was in shock and someone dropped her off. Well, as someone said in a comment box, obviously she needed medical attention because, you know, as an adult, you can decline medical attention. And there have been many people who have been actually visibly hurt in accidents, car accidents, home accidents, hit with an object, and they choose not to go to the hospital. So we will see if we'll wait to see if she has any physical injuries um, her mental state. And hopefully she will be able to speak publicly, or at least audio, of what actually happened and a description of the personal persons who are involved in this crime, if indeed it is an issue of people being involved. Because as I said, I do not know what happened, so I can't say verbatim if there's even a person or persons to accuse. I don't know. And that's true, yes. The flip side of the story is the obvious. This is allegedly about a baby. So where's the baby? Let me ask that question. I want to leave that out. Where is the child? Boy, girl? I also got information. I read that while she was on the phone with her family, she was talking to the child, but the child did not respond. Now imagine that. So how old was the child? 2, 3, 4, nonverbal. Her wig and purse found. How far was it from the car? And why would her purse be outside of the car? Because why would I take my purse outside of the car? I was already told not to get out of the car. But as I said, that makes no sense. If I'm trying to help a child, I would have to get out of the car. So did she get out of the car with her keys? Couldn't have had the keys, because in order for a car to run, a key would have to be in it unless she had a push start car. Very weird, because we don't have all the information. But why do you need your purse? Sound like to me you would turn the engine off, get out with just your keys, leave your purse inside, because you do plan on returning. Then you lock the door. Then you walk over to the child and try to talk to the child. So is it a matter that she got out of the car but left the car running, but held on to her purse? So did she have a crossover bag, a big purse, a little clutch? What is it? Because all those things will matter. And then you have to ask how many feet the purse and the wig were from the car. So she saw the child, parked the car, walked over to the child, and this is where somebody jumped out of the woods. Obviously it had to be the woods, who else could it be? And then grabbed her. There's a struggle. Purse comes off, wig comes off. She's abducted, and the child goes along in tow with the person or persons. Yes. See, that's why when the mother released all this information about the wig in the car, naturally, she was able to tell us that because now the girl has been returned safely. So now we have a little more to go on. Wig, purse, outside of the car, near the car, how many feet? Car still running. So that means she got out of her car and left her car running. And someone would say, hey, that was a good idea. Leave your car running, but it's not going to matter if someone snatches you up. You can't get in your car. You can't get to the car. Was this child used as a ruse? If this information is true, that she did see a child, she called her family members about a child, they heard her scuffling while she was on the phone, they heard her speak to the child, the person came out the woods, grabbed her, took the child, left her car running, left her wig outside, left her purse outside. Is this all truthful information? Just heard a dispatch audio that she was breathing but unresponsive when she was found. Now I'm really confused. See, that's what I'm saying. Where did you get that information from, dear? She was unresponsive. Well, how could she be unresponsive if she walked in the door? One of you in the chat is saying she walked in the door. Now somebody is saying she was unresponsive. It's been over an hour or two since I've last looked at any information pertaining to this story. And I didn't hear anything about her walking in the door or her being found unresponsive. The last thing I read is that the boyfriend said she'll speak when she's ready to speak. Lord have mercy. Okay, Gerard says she returned home by foot. Well, then that means she couldn't have been unresponsive when discovered. Because if she was discovered, then one would say somebody would have picked her up or called 911, and an ambulance or fire truck would have been taking her to the emergency room. That would be the lawful way of transporting an unresponsive human being. I don't understand what the hell's going on. Now, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm just, I just speak it the way I see it. You can't be both. You can't walk in the door and be unresponsive. So, well, what is the truth? See, this is why I don't repeat stuff. I only repeated what came out of the mother's mouth. What I've repeated in this live stream. No, I do not want you to mention nobody's name. No, thank you. Well, you're entitled to your opinion of this story. If indeed she was abducted, where was she taken? Who was all there? What happened to her? How did she get from the abduction site? What color is the vehicle? What color is the person? Tall, short, fat? Does she know the person? How about that? Someone says they thought they saw a guy standing outside the car talking to her. Who was that? But then that makes no sense because if her parents or family said they heard a shuffle while she was out and she spoke to the kid, then how would somebody have seen a guy at her car? Somebody just came right up off the interstate and came parked beside her during traffic to ask her why she was on the side of the road? That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. Because you can't leave your car parked in the highway. You have to pull over behind the person or in front of them, get out your car and walk over to their car. And that would make no sense because it's allegedly she pulled right up off the interstate, got out of her car. There wouldn't have been time for somebody to stand at her car. Unless we're talking about more than one person involved in this storyline. And they went over to her car to peep and look around in her car, retrieve anything. I don't know. Very strange. Very, very strange. 67 viewing. Thank you so very much. Beautiful day in the high 10. Very muggy. I decided to come over to this park and just give you all an area view of this scenery. I couldn't get my phone to sit up like I wanted. Very hard to do. Got a notification here. Hold on a minute, you guys. I saw something crazy up here on my screen. Okay, car crash. Well, oh, mercy. Every day there's something crazy. I'm so grateful that this person has been apprehended in New York. If indeed he is the man, DNA links him to the victims. And what's even more crazy about that story, his wife's DNA was on more than one of the victims, if I'm not mistaken. I'll stand corrected if it's 1, 2, 3. However, that's strange. And we've heard of this, such as with the Lori Vallow Daybell case. Hair can transfer to clothing, to shoes, which is true, because we all have gone places and left our own hair, taking back other people's hair, dog hair, getting in our car. We took some hair from somebody else's house. But, you still have to use deduction when it comes to true crime. So, he's married. He and his wife touch each other, kiss, hug. Naturally, anything from her persons would get onto his clothing. And then he would take those clothing out into the street, whatever he's doing, and assaulting these women, it would be transferred on to the women's clothing. When I saw him walk out with the officers, I looked at that thing and I said, look at that big old great monster. I thought maybe he was 7 feet tall. They got him at just 6'3", which 6'3" is, still tall. I thought it was the height of my father when he was living. 6'3" is still tall for a man, very tall. But looking at him with his weight, because he is heavy, that was mentioned on a program. He's not muscular, but he's a big guy. Imagine that thing hovering over a small person. Hell, even a 6-foot woman. I'm a tall woman, 5'10" and a half. You can't fight that off. So it doesn't matter if you're 5'8", 5'10", 5'2". The man is stronger. He will have the upper hand. And the way he disposed of the women with burlap and bounding them by the head, that is so creepy. Because now you got to ask yourself, how did he strike the victim to subdue her, them? And they have a YouTube video that was made where he's talking to someone about his career, his profession, and him using a hammer or some type of weapon. And just to hear him describe that is so eerie. And now hearing the information about how these women were found, discarded, he was talking about those women when he was speaking to this guy during an interview, YouTube video. And this was done, I think, maybe a year or so ago. So when he says it, hitting it, he's talking about those women. And the fact that the FBI have been tailing him a year, more creepy. He's been walking around this entire time. You're talking about 13 years of walking around free. So we don't know his time span of how often he killed, how many victims there are total. He's never going to tell you the truth. He would only tell you once he's convicted, and he'll wait a while, and then he realizes he wants some more attention, then he'll open his mouth and tell the truth then. But right now, he's not going to tell you anything because he wants to see the evidence. He's another quarterbacker. He wants to see what you all have that got him caught. Okay. See, they're narcissists. One lady, speaking of News Nation, she was saying, I don't know if she's a psychiatrist or a psychologist, but she was saying on News Nation in the bio that maybe he's a sexual, predator, sexual being, possibly overly sexual. Well, there are a lot of men who are overly sexual. You hear a lot of women say this about men that they're married to and date. Oh, he loves sex. He can't get enough. And there are men who will admit they can't get enough. That's why they like having sex with different women, because naturally the one woman they're with, perhaps she doesn't like having sex at all, or she just can't give it to him often as he wants, like 4 or 5 times a day. As somebody would say, hell, who has that kind of time to have sex 4 or 5 times a day? You have to work a job. But maybe they mean back to back. I'm not trying to be, vulgar, but just saying they might want it back to back in the same session. So at some point, the man realizes, well, she's not giving me any. She doesn't like to do what I like or what I crave. I'll go seek it elsewhere. Okay, so go seek it elsewhere. But do you have to kill the women? That's where I have the problem. If I'm to believe this lady's commentary, this mental professional, that he's overly sexed. Okay, there's nothing wrong with being overly sexed. That is your prerogative. I don't have to like it. I can also be in agreement. But what does it have to do with murdering the women? This is a sign of hatred. When a man decides to kill a woman, 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth, he does not like women. No way you can say you like women and you're assaulting them, torturing them, and then discarding them out like trash, wherever it is. You can never say that you like women. So now we will wait to see what his life is really like. His relationship with his wife, his children. I did hear he has children at home. How old are they? Are they under 18 or are they adults? What will the friends and neighbors have to say about this guy? And then you're going to hear all that BS. He ain't the type. He would never do this. You've made a mistake. Well, DNA doesn't lie. And you chewing into a big old pizza dough, leaving your DNA, that ain't no lie. That's not fabricated, not a conspiracy, not a UFO sighting, but the spoken word. That's that. Some people refuse to accept what is. You leave behind your blueprint every day. You sweat, you cry, you shed skin, you shed hair, you have saliva in your mouth, you have fluid that comes out of your body parts. You leave a blueprint, footprint, fingerprints. That's just the way it is. And God designed man to be crafty enough to do scientific work with your blueprint. It is what it is. Well, if he cries, he'll be crying because he can't get out of that jail cell. And rightfully so, he has no bond. Amen. Nobody's about to let you out on bond. And you're tied to 3 women genetically. Dead women at that. Young girls in their 20s. One might be under 20, maybe 18. In the sex industry. He used burner phones. He was crafty. He knew not to use a regular phone that could tie him to any of the women through conversation, text messages, because that's the first thing law enforcement is going to use. Is they're going to go into the phone of the deceased, any type of device they had, to see who they have been speaking with, talking to. And that's the common denominator with these women thus far. They were in the sex industry. So obviously he found them some type of way, an app, soliciting sex. They replied, he replied, and now they're no longer alive. There were lots of crazy things that came out about this case. I think I watched a documentary where they thought they knew who the guy was. He was a guy that lived in the town, on that beach area, whatever. And just a lot of speculations. But you now know that he lived across from the beach area, not too far. So that part is true. The perpetrator lived nearby the dumping ground. Right. Get in, get out. Have them meet me way out here. Kill them, dump them, go on back home. Many Google searches, they said, about 200 or so. Looking for any information about the case, updates. Hello, Grandma Cares. So now we have this thing locked up, caught through DNA. I think some phone data as well. Sadly, it took so long because they had a corrupt police department. I believe that police chief or whomever is incarcerated. When I get more information about that, where I can read everything back verbatim, as not to quote anything, I will read it back to you. I wasn't able to. I didn't feel like bringing my other device, my computer, to try to ping off the Wi-Fi out here in the middle of nowhere, outside, because I like to read things verbatim. Because as I always say, everything's a version. It just depends on your interpretation if you want to believe the information. But yes, this Long Island debacle, women found dead. They have a suspect. I can't remember his name to pronounce it correctly. I'll bring an update. But any updates are posted to my community page. Please check my community page for all updates. I will do a poll pertaining to Carlee. It is not to offend her or her family, but I do a poll on most of all of my stories to ask you your opinion. Besides just doing a live stream and opening the chat, letting you all speak, I like to get your feedback. So that's what the polls are for, is to get a consensus of you believing the story and the version that you have heard. I do not have any new information on Mr. Farias out in Houston, Texas. When I get an update to that information, I will bring it to you. I see that Grizzy person talks a lot and does a lot of live streams with some other guy discussing stuff. I caught myself trying to go in and listen. I got bored with the chitter chatter. I just wanted to hear any type of new information pertaining to him. When I get some, I will gladly bring it to you. And some people may believe that story is a ruse as well. Mother out to get money, perpetrated a fraud, that her son was missing. He went along with it because he was possibly timid, easily coerced, and just rode the ride for many years, but also sick of his mother too. What will happen with their relationship? Will there be any charges against he and his mother? I'll bring you an update to that. But this live stream is pertaining to Carlee Russell, 25, out of Alabama. She has been found safe, missing for about 2 days. We will see what happened to her, if she will speak publicly about the ordeal, if there are any suspects, will they be apprehended? I'll bring you an update. That's my set information. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $ Big Angie, 129 Cash App. Stickers and chats are always welcome during my live streams. Thank you all so much. I wanted to do a panel. A lot of you refuse to come up for some crazy reason. That's what I pay for, is to give you the choice to come up on the panel, different people to speak, new members, people viewing the chat, to give your opinion pertaining to the said information, because it's nice for people to hear your opinion besides just reading it in the comment section. People like to sometimes put a face and a voice to the commentary. It makes it more real, in real time, to hear a person's commentary on a story. And that's what I'd like to do. People getting their daily walk in. I need to be down here with them, but my feet hurt too bad for the queen to walk right now. But once again, where I am now, public place, but you do have to be safe when you're out, because as you see, it's going to be getting dark here shortly, and you have to be aware of your surroundings. So I'm going to say this before I check out of here. Work, going to get something to eat. That was also mentioned. She ordered food and then got on the highway. Where was the food at? Did she pick up the food and put it in her car? Or did she order food in the town where she was going to be staying? I'd like to know that. But you have to be aware of your surroundings, such as right now. I am the only one parked out here at this park area sitting, and anyone could walk up right now from behind me, pull out a weapon, a gun, and then I'd have to sit here and try to fight. And that's when I would drop this live stream and try to turn the ignition over and roll their damn arm up in the damn window. Ann Clark. All right, Ann, here you go. She staged the whole thing, Lord Jesus. You know what, Ann? Miss Shu says, I'd like to know why she was with Ellie the day before. What do you mean? Now, where are you getting that from? Now, y'all don't start coming here repeating gossip now. Don't repeat gossip. If you didn't hear it from her mother or father, it would be gossip. Let's just try to stick to the facts as we know them, which we don't know anything. Because once again, as I said, when it comes to true crime, it's a version. It's no different than if I met you at Walmart and you told me you went to the doctor today to see about your aching foot. And he gave you some medicine, and now you're at the Walmart getting a prescription. I don't know if any of that is true. I'm just listening to what you're saying. I can either say, okay, or hope you feel better. But it also could be a whole lie. You just said it because you're bored. You're an attention seeker. You're a sociopath. You see where I'm going with this? You don't know people. Oh, Ellie made a post saying it was great to meet her and described her. Oh, well, she may have just met him in public. I mean, I'm sure she has a job. So you have to ask that question as well. What does she do for a living? Was she studying in a school, any type of online programs? Her mother kept saying, you know, she's, I can't use the word the mother used, but, you know, she was doing well for herself. So what was she doing? What type of work did she do for a living? You know, what type of people did she hang around? Has she had any disagreements with anybody? See, you can go on and on. I'm already almost 40 minutes into this live. There's so many things you'll forget to even mention pertaining to true crime. Who is she? Where's she from? What type of relationship does she have with her parents, family? Does she live at home with the parents? Stay with them? Why? 25-year-old woman still living at home. See, you have to ask all those questions. Is she happy? Is she content? Does she have mental problems? Schizophrenia? Is she known to lie? Does she have boyfriend problems, men problems? Has she hooked up with somebody recently? Did somebody tell her to meet her out there? See, you don't know. Thousands of questions you can ask. According to Fox 6, she was in Harperville, Alabama, at the police station to take care of some business per her mother. Well, it could be a restraining order. It could be anything. It could be somebody vandalized a car, or, you know, somebody threatened her. I don't know. That's the whole point. You only know what's been given to you, the information, and then you go from there. But I'm not going to make any wild accusations against the young lady. Her family, her parents seem very distraught. The mother, you know, she had that weary look, you know, her eyes wrinkly, probably from crying. She seemed, you know, very caring. Father as well. He said it, this is my baby, our baby. So they seem like grieving parents. I'm just hoping there's nothing nefarious on her part, because that would be terrible to have your parents worried about you sick, family members, friends, community, all over a roost. And I will say, even though this is the Deep South, and most of these areas down here in the South are predominantly white, them white folks down in Alabama rallied with this family, the neighbors, and I was happy to see that, because that's what people need to understand about the world. Blanked out. Whether you're any race, denomination, religious background, something terrible has happened, we as people should come together. And I was proud to see all them white folks down there gathering for this black girl. I am glad. I did read a comment that kind of made me, for a minute, it took me aback. It said, maybe the girl just said it was a toddler because she was in distress over something else. I think that's what they meant to say, because their wording was kind of strange. They said, because, you know, sometimes you call 911 and you don't get any help for a domestic situation. Maybe they don't come right away. But if you say, oh, I see a child in distress, law enforcement would. Very interesting. She was attending Jefferson State Community College. They put on a social media announcement online, so that's probably true. So I'm happy to see a united front of people gathering for this family, because a lot of people still believe, and it's still true, that we do have a lot of racist people in America, period. Not just in the South, but everywhere. You have racist people everywhere. But all I'm saying is it was just good to see white people gathering with this black family for their child, because that's the way it's supposed to be. You gather because you are concerned about a human, no matter the race, the height, the weight. If they were a different religious background, maybe it's not your background, but they're still a human being. I was just glad to see that. And as I said, I pray that there's nothing nefarious to this story, because that would be devastating, especially with Anaya Blanchard's mother being there. She came to support them. She reached out to them. There's something else I wanted to mention. There's also, I believe, an Anaya law. I have talked about her case extensively. Please go in my library. Anaya was kidnapped from a convenience store. And the sad part about her story is that 2 people saw her being manhandled in that parking lot and never called at that time. She could be alive today had somebody called and said, hey, there's a guy trying to push a woman into a car or dragging a woman. Please hurry. We're at the 511, 7-Eleven on 15th Street. Could have been a car right in the area. Police car. Could have came right on the spot and caught him. But instead, she's dumped down a highway in Alabama. So I can see why Miss Anaya Blanchard's mom ran to the aid of this family, because she knows that pain. She and her child's father and family members, they know that pain. Well, I'm not here to judge her. I'm not here to judge her family. Like I said, I don't know the young lady. I don't know anything about her. I don't know anything about her past. I don't know anything about her disposition. They spoke very highly of their daughter. They didn't stutter when they talked about her. So all I can do is believe what they have to say about their child. But as it goes with true crime, you always know that something will come out in a story, good or bad, depending on your interpretation of the information. And all I'm saying is I just pray that everything's on the up and up, that this is a true and factual story of her being abducted, and she was able to get away from her abductors, or they let her go. And if there's more than one person, then all parties are apprehended. Thank you all so much for your time. Like, share, subscribe. Please donate to the network if you can. Please take the polls on the community page. Sorry I didn't bring up a movie suggestion and or weekend movie. But I would definitely do that after this. I'll probably give you a 2 for 2 or 2 for 4 to make up for this week's not putting anything on the community board. I may put up a documentary because there's a documentary that I was watching yesterday that I may give as a suggestion. But prayers to this family. Thank God that this Long Island killer has been apprehended. Let's see if he decides to talk, give any more information. And once again, the Idaho home of the four slain, the students, will remain for now. There's also a stay pertaining to Korberger's case, more shenanigans. And there was other stories I wanted to bring to you about the homeowners associations in one town. They called the police on the members. They must have been getting heated during a session where they found out money was misappropriated. And then another story came up pertaining to homeowners associations fraud. Somebody threw somebody a going away party or a retirement party. Frankly, I'm going to be truthful with you. I don't want to pay nobody to do anything in my neighborhood and plus pay the bank a mortgage. You live how you want to live, but you don't know where the money's going. And when you have a homeowners association, they can bitch and moan about every little thing. The grass is too high. Don't like the curtains you're hanging. The flag is too high, too big, this and that. Forget about all that. Honey, go buy you a house in a regular neighborhood and you stand account for whatever goes on in that house on your property. That's that. Yes, the house needs to remain because the jury should have an option if they wanted to see the inside of the house, walk through the house, because you had a lot of vantage points where a person could enter the house. So it would make sense to leave the house standing so people could go to the property, go up to the top, go around the back at that parking lot that belongs to the apartment, look down, walk down, go in the front door, the glass door, look through all the windows from the inside and out. Let people see how a perpetrator could have gotten in the house. Please, ladies, I say this 1,000 times. Please be aware of your surroundings. Be careful who you talk to, the personal things you post on social media, personal things you tell about your business, the company you keep, meeting new men, women as well. They're crooks too. Talking to people alone, meeting people alone, going to hotel rooms, houses, apartments, condos, sheds, trailers. Please be aware, because Queen had a little incident the other day. I don't know if it's from something I've posted to social media, but somebody made a reference pertaining to something in my house. And I know who's been in my house since moving to where I moved, which I'm about to come out of there, like ASAP. But somebody's been talking and discussing the Queen. Because when somebody decides to repeat to me what color is inside of the house, and I know who's been in there and they don't fraternize with you, I have to question who's been talking to you. Is there something I posted to social media in the pictures that made you think you know what's in my house? That's a problem for me. So this is why I keep telling you, be very careful about what you post to social media. I possibly will not be posting any more personal pictures inside of the house. That's why I don't even need to go live in the background, because you can see, just a little bit of something, a lamp or something like that, but you'd be surprised how people will take and spin stuff. I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that at all. Be aware of what you post. Be aware of what you tell people. And ladies, stop telling your business. Stop talking about where you work, where you live, people you fraternize with, who you dated, all that. You'd be very surprised how information can get back to people, and it can come back and bite you in the tail later. You meet people, they do not need to know where you work. They don't need to know your profession. We've got to learn to be a little bit more private. Social media or not, we've got to learn when to shut up. And here in the South, people talk a lot and they tell their business. And it's a dangerous thing. It's a dangerous thing. Because as I'm sitting here, all a person has to do is try to find the landmark. Look at something in the background in the video and say, oh, I know where that is. I know, I live over there. I work over there, and that's all it takes. And then next thing you know, now somebody knows where you were and the time. Because YouTube is nothing but a tattletale too. It posts when you put a video up, how many days it's been from the time you watch it. And you have people who are sick and all they do is watch stuff and try to pinpoint stuff because they're bored. They don't have a life. You have to be very careful of your surroundings. That's all I'm going to say to all of you. Thank you so much. God bless all of you. Have a wonderful week. Check my community board in a little bit. I'm about to go back to the house and post some things on the community page for your intel. And if Brittany decides she wants to come out or Miss Ann contacts me to discuss this Carlee situation, I'll let you chop it up where people can hear your conversation and hear your opinion publicly, not just in the chat. Thank you all so much. God bless all of you as well. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. You've been listening to The Vault XL. Have a wonderful week, everybody.